Hi, and welcome again to this module on the political roles music plays in our contemporary society. So far we have mainly focused on music's disciplining, structuring and controlling function, although the lecture on Adorno also touched upon the critical function music can have. In this video we will elaborate more on the subversive role of music, on music as a source of resistance, against order, against power, against political and social institutions, and against cultural and aesthetical traditions. So, let's start with this.
You just might be a black Bill Gates in the making. My daddy Alabama, mama Louisiana. You mix that Negro with that Creole, make a Texas Bama. I like my baby hair with baby hair and afro. I like my Negro nose with Texas cotton nostrils. And all is money, but they never take the country out there. I got hot sauce in my bag. I see it, I want it, I stunt yellow on it, I dream it, I work hard, I grind till I own it, I twirl all my haters, I find no alligators, a casino, where go, no chaser. Sometimes I go off, I go hard, take what's mine, I'm a star, cause I slay.
And let's compare it with this. The short video shows Beyoncé and her dancing crew at the Super Bowl, the finals of American football in February 2016, making a serious political statement in and through music. The afro hairstyles, the black berets, the forming of an X on the pitch and punching the air with their fists, this was an homage to the militant Black Panthers movement on the 50th anniversary of its founding. The X formation was a tribute to the radical black separatist Malcolm X. The performance was also intended to honor the Panthers' modern-day successors, the Black Lives Matter movement, and opposing institutional racism in America. The audio file is perhaps from the most famous album of sax player Ornette Coleman, called Free Jazz, a collective improvisation. It was released in 1961 and caused a hurricane in the jazz world as it announced the final breakthrough of the movement called free jazz. As you may have heard, the music is no longer based on clear meters and harmonies. The regular structure of so many jazz tunes, a theme followed by some solos before the theme returns, has been left behind. And the traditional setup, in which one soloist is accompanied by piano, bass and drums, is replaced by a double quartet in which many musicians play solos simultaneously. Music critic Michael Bailey described the album as New Orleans Dixieland exposed and mutated by radiation exposure. Why these two examples? Why these two very different musics? Well, it is definitely not my intention to start a competition on who is the most subversive here. But what I am interested in are the arguments which are used to call these two musics politically subversive. Beyoncé's performance, in fact only meant as a supporting act, attracted an enormous amount of attention, far more than the main act Coldplay. On social media, in newspapers and on television, many people commented on her tribute to Malcolm X, the Black Lives Matter movement and her engagement with racism in general. The clothes, the choreography and the lyrics were mostly interpreted as a direct contribution to the civil rights movement and thereby an implicit protest against the bad ways Afro-Americans are still treated today. With this performance, Beyoncé sides with the many protest singers who preceded her, from John Lennon to Public Enemy and from U2 to Jimi Hendrix. However, nobody talked about the music. And as we might remember from Hafez's lecture on Adorno, pop music cannot be really subversive as it is a product of a culture industry, tending to preserve the political status quo. But can we say the same of Beyoncé's music at the Super Bowl? How predictable is it? How standardized? Okay, the rhythm is meant to dance, but still not played in a very traditional pop way. The melody is hard to follow, harmonies are almost absent, and the overall structure doesn't resemble the traditional alternation between verse and refrain. In short, also from a musical point of view, there are enough arguments to call Beyoncé's performance as going against the political grain. Let's turn to Ornette Coleman's music. In his famous book Noise, French thinker Jacques Attali writes that Coleman's music heralds the emergence of a formidable subversion, one leading to a new cultural political organization. In other words, his free jazz can be considered as creating disorder, chaos or noise, undermining the existing musical as well as political order of that time, the 1960s. That the album Free Jazz subverted the existing musical order is easy to understand. As said before, it quite radically changed many musical standards. However, according to Attali, this music had other, far-reaching consequences too. Attali regarded the free jazz movement as the permanent affirmation of the right to be different, outside of social, political, cultural and aesthetical confines. This music, like punk more than a decade later, undermined the norms and values, the social and economic achievements of the upper and middle classes, and as such became an important political factor as well, perpetually questioning authority and stability in and through music. Okay, to summarize, what we have learned in this video is that music not always follows the already existing rules of a political order. Neither does it always create political order and harmony or work as a disciplining force like we have seen in our previous videos. Music can also be subversive, adding noise and chaos to any present organization, be it cultural or political. In the next video we will return once more to Theodor Adorno. He is renowned for his criticism on the products of the culture industry, pop music being one of them. But he has also developed some interesting thoughts on music that is able to criticize the political status quo. Let's see what he has to say on this.